You ever look at a massive, towering tree and just wonder, how in the world does it get a drink of water all the way up to those top leaves? Well, plants might look pretty still on the outside, but inside, they are bustling. Today, we're going to dive into the two incredible highways that make it all happen, the xylem and the phloem. So here's the plan. We'll start with a huge problem plants need to solve. Then we'll look at their two solutions, the xylem and the phloem. After that, we'll put them head to head to see how they stack up. And finally, we'll talk about why any of this really matters. Think about a giant skyscraper for a second, right? It needs some serious plumbing to get water up to the penthouse, and it needs elevators to move people and supplies around. Well, a tall plant faces the exact same problem of scale, just with water and food. So how does it solve that? How does a plant basically defy gravity, day in and day out, pulling water from the ground all the way up to its highest branches? The secret, it turns out, is in its amazing living infrastructure. All right, let's start with the plumbing. The first piece of this puzzle is a super specialized network called the xylem. This is the system that's 100% dedicated to moving water. So the xylem is basically two things at once. It's a pipe for water and minerals coming up from the roots, and it's also part of the structural support that helps the plant stand up straight and strong. But the really wild part is what it's made of. Okay, take a look at this. What's absolutely incredible here is the status column. Tracheids, dead. Vessels, dead. Xylem fibers, also dead. 3 of the 4 essential parts of this life-giving system aren't even alive. Which, leads to a pretty weird question, right? Why on earth would a plant build its most important supply line out of dead cells? I mean, it sounds like a terrible idea, but it's actually a stroke of evolutionary genius. And here's why it is so brilliant. First off, because the cells are dead, they're completely hollow. They form perfect, empty, continuous straws. There's no cytoplasm or anything else to get in the way, so water can just flow freely. Second, their walls are super thick and reinforced, which keeps them from collapsing under the massive pressure needed to pull water up so high. It's a perfect pipe. Okay, so water's all sorted out, but what about the food? Plants make all that sugary energy in their leaves through photosynthesis, but they need to get that energy to everywhere else. And that is the job of our second highway, the phloem. You can think of the phloem as the plant's food delivery service. And unlike the xylem, which is strictly a one-way street going up, the phloem is a dynamic two-way system. It sends sugars wherever they're needed, to new leaves, down to the roots for storage, or out to a growing apple. Now, when we look at what the phloem is made of, we see the complete opposite of the xylem. Here, 3 out of the 4 components are living. The only dead part are the fibers that provide support. It turns out, moving food around is a job for the living. And there's this incredible teamwork happening here. The main transport cells, the sieve tubes, they actually ditch their own nucleus when they grow up, just to make more room for transport. So how do they stay alive? Well, their dedicated companion cells right next door act as a life support system, managing all their functions for them. It's an amazing little partnership. So now we've got our 2 highways. One is mostly dead, the other is mostly alive. Let's put them side by side and really see the difference. First up, the xylem again. Visually, it's just so clear. It is overwhelmingly made of dead tissue, perfectly engineered for that one single job, moving water under pressure. And now let's look at the phloem. It's a complete flip. The vast majority of its tissue is alive and kicking, because directing valuable food energy all over the plant requires active, careful management. So, if you're looking for a simple way to remember all this, here it is. Xylem is mostly dead and water flows up. Phloem is mostly alive and food flows all around. And this table just sums it all up perfectly. You've got different jobs, different directions of flow, different key players, and of course, that huge difference in status, mostly dead versus mostly living. Just 2 incredibly elegant solutions to 2 totally different problems. So, okay, we've talked a lot about plant plumbing, but why should we really care about all this? Well, because this internal system isn't just some weird biological factoid. It's actually fundamental to life on this planet. Think about it. This perfectly balanced system of living and dead tissue is what allows a forest to grow hundreds of feet into the air. It's the system that delivers the nutrients to the wheat that becomes our bread and sends the sugar to the berries we eat. It is, and I mean this literally, the infrastructure that powers our world. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. When you see a system that is this clever, this efficient, where even dead cells are perfectly repurposed for a vital job, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is that just some random evolutionary accident, or is it one of nature's most perfect feats of engineering?